Hang on, buddy, I'm coming. Hey. Whoa! Chico?
This game does not have a very complex story, but I found it to serve its purpose in captivating me enough and giving me enough motivation to see it to the end and make this video on it, along with the game as a whole. Now, a lot of people bash the game for its story not being good or not much of a story being there. Me, on the other hand, thought it was okay, enough to keep me going to the end, but typically, a well-written story is not important for me. I don't need an amazing story in the game. I need amazing or fun gameplay. Personally, if I'm looking for a great story, I could read a book. I could watch a well-written TV show or a movie to scratch that itch. I come to games primarily for fun gameplay, and if there happens to be a great story attached, then it's all the more better for it. Like when The Last of Us released back in 2013. I thought it was an amazing story, but I also really liked the gameplay as well. If it didn't have that good story, then I would still have loved the game for the gameplay, just like this game here. Now those are just my thoughts personally. I know not everyone, or even most, don't have that mindset, but that is my take, whether it be hot or not. Melee combat seems to be a bit divisive. Either you love it or hate it, as many have said. I personally had a lot of fun with the combat, but I can see where many people have issues with it. You have a quick lighter swing and a heavy swing, which is a lot slower but deals more damage, often launching an enemy a couple of yards back. I would do this so I could focus on the other one and deal some damage to them. Often when you hit an enemy, a reticle will pop up to take a quick pop shot, automatically hitting your target. No aiming required here, which may feel a little arcade-like, as this takes no skill to pull off. I didn't have a problem with this though. Now the problem comes when you are dealing with more than one enemy. When fighting, it kind of locks you onto that target when they swing, so that you can either dodge left or right. But if there is another one next to you, you're not dodging their attacks unless you're facing them. Enemies are still going to hit you while you're attacking another. So the trick is to figure out a way to isolate a single enemy, so that you can focus on the other one, even if only for a few seconds. Whether you use the grip ability, which I will talk more about in a bit, to launch them away for a sec, or a heavy swing which will also launch them, so therefore you can focus on the other until that one comes back. Dealing with these two while maybe also dealing with another spinning at you from a distance. Yeah, it can be frustrating, especially the first half of the game when you have limited options for attack. The first half of the game you will only have the electric baton and the hand cannon, which I will also talk more about. I think it would have been a little better to have spread the weapons you get a little further apart, because once you find the second weapon, spoilers for the second weapon, you can skip this section if you have not played. Though, I will talk more in depth about all the weapons, which is the skunk gun. Then you start getting a hold of more weapons more frequently and a lot closer together, compared to the distance between the hand cannon and the skunk gun. Everything you do in this game feels weighty. The melee attacks feel as if they have a lot of weight behind them. Just walking feels like it has a lot of weight to it. Makes sense when you get the suit and you're stomping around Callisto. You also have a stomping mechanic. Similar to Dead Space, you stomp bodies for loot items. So as many of you have most likely already heard about, you can dodge most attacks from an enemy. Now this has got to be the most controversial aspect of this game. If an attacker swings at you, all you have to do is move the movement keys or stick, if you're on console, in whatever way you wish to dodge. Now I don't believe it matters in which way you lean. Once you press left or right to dodge, Jacob will automatically dodge at the right time. Enemies will often swing 3 or 4 times. You just keep alternating in whatever direction you're dodging. If you lean in the same direction twice in a row, you will most likely catch a hit. When dodging, you will be in slow motion. I've heard there is a perfect dodge, but I'm not sure if that's what this means or how to perfectly dodge. So I will leave that up to you to figure out. Now you can press the backwards movement key or pull the stick back to block. I didn't often use this, as you will take some damage but the attacker will be left wide open for an attack. There is an upgrade for your baton that lets you take less damage while blocking. Another that lets you trip an enemy after successful block. That will leave them wide open for an attack. Your first weapon of the game is a crowbar. It's basically the same as the baton, but you only have it for maybe 20 minutes. No upgrades or anything for this weapon.
The lockup had already been raided. All that's left is this baton.
Stun baton, yeah. Those things do pack a punch though. We are gonna need it.
A bit into the start of the game, you find an electric security baton from a fallen security guard. Swapping out the crowbar, this will now be your primary melee weapon. You can upgrade it as you can with most of the weapons, from increasing the damage, breaking an enemy's forearm when they try to block, to letting out an electric shock that will stun an enemy. I ended up going with max damage for my playthrough, as I always seem to go for strength builds if I have a choice. Some may not care for From Software games, but like say for Dark Souls, I always seem to go for a heavy sword swinging guts type of character from Berserk. Try saying that 5 times fast. I don't know why, but if I have the choice, I seem to subconsciously lean towards that type of build in any game that allows for physical strength. I don't know, maybe I just have a basic type of mindset. Please let me know in the comments what you tend to lean towards, whether it be From Software type of game or any other. Okay, back to Callisto. The GRP is this game's universe iteration of Kinesis from Dead Space.
Works on all sorts of things to do. Go on, give it a go.
The same basic concept, but lacking major features that Kinesis has. You won't be severing limbs, using the GRP ability and piercing enemies like you would in Dead Space. You'll be using this ability more to grab enemies and force them back to buy you time to deal damage to them, or deal damage to an enemy you want to get rid of first. You can force them into each other, which will stun both of them for a bit. This can also be used to retrieve just out of reach containers with supplies. Of course, there are upgrades such as increasing the launch strength to where enemies can be injured upon impact, or increasing the capacity an energy cell can hold. Although not being able to impale the biophage with their own limbs is a letdown, this is still a fun and useful ability. Frequently, you will see conveniently placed wall spikes or some type of grinder spread throughout the levels. More will be placed in a combat arena where you will fight more than 2 enemies. You can use the GRP to grab them one at a time and force them into whatever hazard you see fit. You can also use your heavy melee attack to knock them into these as well.
Oh, in the old crucifix pose, I see.
Now this thing runs on a battery that you can see the percentage of, which is the blue light bars on the back of your neck. You can change these batteries out manually, which I don't think I had to do once, or when it dies, it will change itself automatically. By the time you come across the schematics for the skunk gun, it's already been half of the game, roughly. By this time, you should be efficient enough to get through most encounters. I don't think it gets any tougher from this point, though there may be a few moments that are tough, but nothing you haven't already dealt with. Also, it's been a few weeks since I beat the game. You should know how most encounters will turn out, though there will still be a few new enemies and new guns introduced. You mostly will go about handling these encounters how you have been, just more firepower to back you up. So on with the skunk gun. This new weapon is a shotgun that you will assemble from the same stock you assembled the hand cannon with. When you switch to this weapon, Jacob will deassemble the hand cannon, or when you are far enough into the game, the tactile pistol into the skunk gun. This assembly takes time to produce though, so you most likely won't have time to switch to either of these weapon types in the middle of a confrontation. The skunk gun holds 2 shells. At least from the path I went down. When you first get it, it feels like a beast of a weapon, because all you have been using for the first few hours is a baton and the hand cannon, and at first, briefly, the crowbar.
Oh, son of a bitch, you got a lucky hit.
When this weapon comes into play, it feels like the enemies you are facing are fodder. By the time you get the riot gun, it's about the halfway point, maybe even a little more. As I said earlier, I think the pacing could have benefited from spacing out when you receive new weapons a lot more, instead of clumping most of the weapons in the latter half. Another criticism would be not having more variety in the weapons. For instance, The riot gun don't feel different enough from the skunk gun to differentiate itself. Once I got the riot gun, the skunk gun took a backseat. It took a backup role just in case I needed a hard hitter if I was low on ammo with the riot gun, or just needed extra stopping power after I expended my clip from the riot. Of course, for it to be a backup for the latter option, then you would already have to have the skunk gun assembled, because the assembly process is not feasible during combat, unless the enemies are far enough away, they're not faster than you, or you create time for yourself to put it together. The assembly animations are not fast, and can be a death sentence if you're in combat and don't know what you're doing. The tactical pistol has a higher rate of fire, and is not a bad path to upgrade if you choose to go down this route. Now during my playthrough, I decided to put my credits into the hand cannon over this, but this is not a bad option either. I use this as more of a backup option, similar to how I handled the skunk gun. Now it does share the same base as the hand cannon and the skunk gun, so you'll probably want to put your credits towards only one of these if you want to fully upgrade one, or two if you don't plan to upgrade either completely. You won't be able to upgrade either completely unless you put less credits into your heavy weapons, baton, or GRP. So there are choices and different paths you can take, which is nice and adds a little replay value. So to get half of the weapons, you will most likely come across schematics for said weapon. After obtaining the schematics for a weapon, you then have to 3D print the weapons from the schematics at the printing stations, scattered throughout the levels.
Quality check verified.
When you finally find the schematics for the assault rifle, you're in the endgame pretty much. So not much time to enjoy having all the weapons, or just the assault rifle itself. Sharing the same base as the riot shotgun, you will most likely only fully upgrade one. I went with the riot, but the other option is not bad either. This is a 3-round burst, and can be upgraded to have smart ammunition. Fired rounds maneuver themselves in flight to hit moving targets. I didn't go this route, but this don't sound like a bad option at all. You can upgrade all your weapons at these 3D printing machines. Each weapon has its own little upgrade tree. You can sell your loot here as well, but what you really want to sell are certain items like a CPU printer, which will gain you about 1,000 Callisto credits, or a pristine decoder, which will sell for 750. There are others to sell, but the ones I mentioned here are more rare to find and higher priced. The enemies are prisoners and other personnel that inhabit Callisto that have been mutated from the biophage pathogen. The mutations can result in different types of the biophage, with different characteristics such as the grunts. The grunts are the basic melee type that will sprint towards you. Big Mouth will spit projectiles of some form at you. Upon their heads being blown off, they will resort to melee attacks. Not too different from the grunts. After being beheaded, these enemies are easier to deal with when it comes to up close, as they generally only swipe once instead of a combo attack like the grunts.
Purge cycle in progress.
What the fuck?
Warning. Anomaly detected.
The rusher is quicker and more agile. They typically will run up to you, get a hit or two in, and run away. They will also pounce on you, forcing you into a QTE to shove them off. Rusher also has the unique ability to turn invisible, and they will frequently run off and hide, turning invisible for a time, before coming back for another attack, or exposing themselves if you get too close. Alright, minor spoilers. I think this is a pretty good scare, so if you don't want to be spoiled on this first specific scare, then you can skip to this time. Bloodworms will be hidden in an egg sac. These pods blend well in the surrounding environment, but if you're able to spot them before they initiate an attack, you can kill them before they can get you. Once you get in range of them, they will burst out of their pod and sling their head towards you, forcing the QTE, pulling you closer to them. If you fail the QTE, you will be killed instantly in a gruesome fashion, as all death scenes are. Cumbuster is a swollen enemy, only able to crawl, and you guessed it, explodes when it gets in range. One shot will cause it to explode and damage any enemies in the radius, usually killing them. The blind are, well, obviously blind and react to noise, so be quiet and take them out silently, real easily by sneaking up behind for an instant kill. They're usually in a pack, but still pretty easy to take them out. But if you get too close to any facing you, even when crouched, they will attack. Once one is alerted, they seem to have a hive mind or link together because they will all automatically know where you are. The level these enemies are introduced, get used to them because the entire level is them and them alone. So I was sneaking around crouched almost the entire level. And I do feel this one drags on a bit too long with not enough variety. When you first meet them and are trying to figure them out, it can be intense and the room filled with tension because you don't know which way they will turn next. But once you figure them out, it's a breeze.
No, we're not infected!
Lethal force has been authorized. Area secured. Moving to medical sector.
Security units are seemingly indestructible death machines. During the outbreak, all units were ordered to kill any human they see. While upon being seen, consider yourself already dead, because they have pinpoint accuracy with so many bullets that will turn you into Swiss.
Alert condition red. Resuming.
Now you can kill them apparently, but I never tried during my playthrough. I didn't even know they could be taken down. There seems to be really no benefit to doing so, as they don't drop anything, so I advise just sneaking around them instead of wasting ammo. Maybe there's an achievement for doing so, if you're into that, but I can honestly care less about achievements personally. This is strictly a linear game. There's not much breaking away from the set path. There are a few times you may come to a split in the path, but usually one way is a dead end that may have some extra supplies or something in that nature, and maybe a few enemies. There's one time I remember passing a locked door that needed a gate fuse. I got through a combat encounter with a few enemies and found a gate fuse. Now to progress, the fuse needs to be inserted into this door, but I remembered that other door that needed a fuse too. So I went back to that door, which wasn't too far back, maybe a minute or so. I put the fuse into the door and climbed through the vent, which led me to a room with a door that was locked, but the path forward is visible through the glass. Now, in this room I found an energy converter, which is another item you'll be selling to the 3D printing machines for Callisto credits, and some ammo or something. Took what I wanted and moved forward to the other door to progress. That is about the most backtracking you will do in this game. There are other moments similar to this, but I think you get the gist. So I played this game on PC from Steam. When this game released, people said it was bad. I purchased the game 2 days after release on December 3rd. I didn't encounter too many bugs, but I did have some choppy frame rates at times. But not bad. Game ran okay for me, but by now it's been updated and should run pretty well. I heard Xbox had some issues and PS5 had the best performance. Now, it should run well on all platforms. They released an update on the 15th of December that supposedly improved combat, stability improvements, performance, and general quality of life changes. I've heard it is improved, so check it out for yourself if you're interested.
Well, 5-2. You're really a thank you. At first I thought this was a curse, but then I realized it is a gift.
There is one big boss fight for the climax of the game. It's okay, but you can dodge most hits like you're Neo from the Matrix.
There's a pattern. Arcus, Black Iron, Europa. They're all connected.
And there is a mini boss you fight 4 times towards the end of the game. I mainly just stayed far away and shot him from a distance. I won't speak anymore on these guys and let you see them for yourself if you're interested. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with this game. It's not perfect, but it was captivating and had me immersed throughout the whole 10 hours or so. Now, a lot of people criticize the game for being too short. I am not one of those people. If a game has a short campaign and no other content as this one does, I have no problem paying the $60 retail price for it, as long as it was fun and I enjoyed the hours I put into it. Then I feel I got my money's worth. For me, a game can be 6 hours long, but if I have fun for those 6 hours and I really enjoyed my time with it, then I have no regrets. Same thing with this one here. But I actually tend to prefer shorter games. When I play, I explore every nook and cranny, and tend to run an 8-hour game to 14. I take my time on most games, and don't rush, which is why I haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2 yet. It's such a long game. With my tendency to explore every single aspect of a map, that 50 to 60 hour game would turn into 175 hours by that point, and I tend to lose interest and never finish it. Anyway, I believe this game is good, and if it interests you at all, then there's only one way to really know if you like it yourself. If you made it this far, and liked the video you just watched, then maybe check out one of my previous videos. I feel I've gotten a little better with the pacing in the last 3, so if you're interested, check out my channel and try one of those videos. With that being said, I will close this video. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a like. If you want to see more, then give me a sub. If you're interested in the other content I made, then click the video in the end card. Thanks for watching.
Bastard.